What's up guys, and welcome back to another eBay miniature rescue. Today we're going to work on this rescue slash commission job for a subscriber who wanted me to help him with his Primaris Ultramarine Sergeant. So what we're going to do is throw this guy into a bath of LA's Totally Awesome, strip him clean, and start with a fresh coat. So what I did here is I primed everything black, and then I did a pretty stark zenithal highlight over, just so we have black as kind of a backup in those shadows. Then using Army Painter's appropriate ultramarine blue, I'm going to lightly go over, top down and kind of fill everything in, trying to preserve as much of those transitions from that zenithal highlight as possible. Now this is a little bit harder to do with regular thin down paints, but it's still achievable. Not as much as inks, but it still looks really nice, and I think it's still worth doing the zenithal highlight because we kind of already know where the highlights are going to be, and we're going to work that up with some of these blues. Now coming in with some of this Calidor Sky, this is going to be kind of our mid-tone blue, and it's going to give us a nice highlight, especially on the shoulder pads and a lot of the larger, flatter areas. And I think Calidor Sky is more of the standard ultramarine color. The Army Painter Ultramarine looks really good. I've done a bunch of Space Marines this way, and it's a nice base color, especially if you're trying to get something pretty simple. Army Painter has that in a can, plus the bottles with the color match, which is really nice to have. So having something that you can spray an entire army with is really great. Now we're going to come in with Lothern Blue and do the final highlight on a lot of these larger areas. So we want to be a little more controlled with this color, just because it is brighter and it takes a little bit away from, the main blue focus of these ultramarines. I mean, it's a really nice highlight color. So as long as it's on kind of the extreme flat areas that are mostly in direct light, things like knee pads or the top of the foot, that kind of thing, it really brings out the rest of those blues and gives a nice gradient. So at first I wasn't sure if I should do a video on this or not, but I thought it would be kind of nice to show, like, here's a basic workup for Space Marines that works really well. You got 3 different colors over a nice zenithal, so you've got black in the shadows, white on all the top areas that's going to preserve that really nice vibrant blue, and then you just kind of slowly work up those blues brighter and brighter in those focal points, and shoulder pads specifically, it looks really nice. And then you fill everything in with the rest of the colors, and you're going to get a really nice tabletop standard or above, if you continue, model with not a lot of work from your airbrush. So now I'm filling in a lot of the smaller gold details with this Retributor armor. And this is one of the better golds that Games Workshop has come out with in quite some time. It covers really nicely, and it can be tinted in several directions to kind of mimic a lot of their other golds that don't seem to have as nice of coverage. Menoth white base for the ribbons and the rope.
Waiting for the sound.
Mephiston red for the seals, and for now his eyes. Radiant platinum for all the metallic parts on the gun. There's some trim around the sword and the handle, and this little bullet that's hanging off of this rope that looks pretty cool. So using a black oil wash, I'm going to go into all of the little fine recesses and fill them in. And this is really going to do a lot of work for Space Marines, and it's easier than using like a Nuln oil or regular black wash to do the whole thing. This is going to preserve your airbrush workup and give it a really nice contrast with those dark lines. I should also mention that oil washes are probably the most satisfying thing to put on a model. You should definitely try it. So like I said in the beginning of the video, I wasn't sure if I was going to upload this or not, and I figured why not just show a good amount of this, because I think there's still some things, that people would like to see. And especially the airbrush workup in itself, I think is a bigger part of this project that, moving forward for anyone else that's trying to paint Marines, whether it's any color of Marine, you can kind of use the same technique with that 3-color workup over a zenithal, and you're going to get a really nice result pretty much every time. And the secret to it all anyways is that oil wash. So I was talking to the client, and he wanted this white stripe over the top of the helmet, and for some reason it didn't occur to me, even though I own one, that the Sergeant with the white stripe has a red helmet. So I did have to go back and redo that, and unfortunately I didn't get that on camera because it was kind of like, oh no, I need to do that right now before I varnish this and send it in the mail. But that happens sometimes, and it's no big deal. And I think in the end this Marine turned out pretty good. That blue workup's really nice, and I did a little bit of edge highlighting on the model to kind of bring out some of those detail areas, and it's ready to go and be shipped off. Thank you again for joining me on another eBay miniature rescue. If you like this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. For everything else, all applicable links are in the description below. Thanks again for joining me. I'm Casey, and I will see you in the next video.